Well, it's getting to be the end of 2013, and it's been a while since I posted something. And I wanted to give some thoughts about the end of a year, the end of a cycle. For many are on their way home to be with family and friends, or you're there already and you're sighing some relief. Those of you who are in school, wow, you get a bit of a break. Have some good food, be around people you like and love, and have some rest or change of pace. And it reminds me about practice. Because as you know, and I've said many times, for me, music is no different than life. It's a living thing. And we become what we practice. Not only on our instruments, but in ourselves. You know, diet people like to say, well, you become what you eat. You become what you think about. You become what you let yourself be absorbed with in your thinking, in your approach. For we all know that there's many people involved in music, thinking about music all day long. It doesn't mean that people are in the same processes, because they're in the same subject matter. So, as much as this break is needed for a lot of people, and professionals too, even though a lot of professional musicians this is the time of the year they can, make a little extra for their family, for themselves, and maybe tuck a little more away or get a little extra dough for that special somebody so they can give them a gift. Maybe a little help with basic necessities. So it can be a very busy time for some. And when I was in the Boston Pops, some weeks I was playing a lot of concerts. Sometimes 12 a week, sometimes 3 a day. In fact, I used to like the 3 a day ones. Seems like I got, if I did it right, I really got strong physically. And it was fun. Atmosphere was lighter. When I was in the orchestra, maybe people weren't as... we were a little more carefree, let's say. That's my experience. I don't know what people are doing now, but it was a little more carefree, so it was a nice change. And I'm using this feeling of needing a break to think about practice, because if you think of a whole year, when this holiday season starts to appear from Thanksgiving on, you can feel people needing a change, people wanting a break from the constant things they're used to doing on a regular basis. So they can have some sense of release, refresh, unwind, so they can start again. And we can see this cycle in so many different parts of life, can't we? And this is something that I feel needs to be applied to our practice time. So, do you ever give yourself a break from your practice? Now, let me explain what I mean by break. Yes, you have those days where you're practicing, and let's say you've had a few days and it's consecutively getting worse. And maybe your face is hurting, or whatever instrument you're playing, that particular part of the body is starting to feel strained. Not only physically, but mentally you just feel like, going uphill. A steep hill. And you need to take a breather. Well, you know what? Once in a while it's good to put down the instrument, pick up a good book, go outside for a walk, get to be with some friends and have a different kind of a time. And maybe something not music related. Maybe you want to go see a play. Or hear some other kinds of music that you usually don't listen to, but enjoy. Or discover some you don't even know about that you could really not only enjoy, but could nourish the other part of you that's working on a specific kind of music in a specific kind of way. To open up some other doors. Things aren't as isolated as we might tend to think. I think in the classical music world, and I think other worlds too, think, well, this is this, and this is this, and this is this. And of course they have their own specificity and requirements, but. It is music. And depending on where you're coming from, depending on what you're connected to, and what you're trying to put through that medium of music, it can make it go sour, where you're not saying much. Even if you're playing great music by songwriters or composers, they're all composers, whether it's instrumental or voice or whatever it is, it can, if you're not connected, it can sound like just robotic. Your automatic processes know how to do it so well that you press the button and it can start to come out. But is it saying anything? Is it fresh? Is it realistic to even think that it can always be fresh? Can we be conscious that sometimes it's not going to be fresh, and what we can do to actually enliven it so it can be fresh, so the message that we want to put across can actually happen. And sometimes we need to have breaks in our practice session, in our cycles. Because if you think about it, you have a day, that's a cycle. You have a week, that's a cycle. You have a month, that's a cycle. You have a semester, that's a cycle. There's all these cycles within cycles. And actually within each one of them, we have to find the room to regroup and to refreshen ourselves. Is there a way to always stay in the fresh state? By being aware of when it starts to get unfresh, where we need that break. And that break can express itself in different kinds of ways. It doesn't mean it has to be totally broken, so nothing's going on. But it can mean that when we're in that break, we're allowing certain things to be released, so there can be room for other things to come back in, and things can be rejuvenated in a way in our mind and bodies and emotions that can continue on. Actually with more. Because I'll tell you, during a break, if you do it right, you can actually start to accumulate or feel what you've accumulated that's useful. And sometimes during a break from actual playing, certain contemplative processes can help you engage with what's happened to you during a particular cycle. That's why keeping a diary every day can be a nice thing, even if you start just by scribbling in it. Let's say you're just a scribbler. You don't have to write anything profound. You can say, "Hi, here I am." And then the next day, you just want to make rectangles. Next day, you're making circles and rectangles. The next day, you're not making anything that anyone could pick out except scribble. Even though you can look at certain scribbles and feel certain things. So even if you can't write words, doodling gets something else out and expresses something else. You might all of a sudden find yourself writing poetry or drawing pictures that say something to you. So everything is art. To go to a museum and look at a phenomenal painting, to go outside and look at the incredible nature. I'll never forget when I realized, this might sound obvious, but it hit me as a point of awe, where I noticed the oak seedlings having that little propeller shape. And I thought, wow, that's extraordinary. Something new. It knew inside of it that there was wind. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any use for that shape. So to see the natural, incredible art of nature and to tap into that is extraordinarily nourishing, revitalizing for ourselves, our bodies. They're part of that nature. So connecting to the natural worlds, going for that country walk, that trip by the seaside, that walk out into the forest, does many things and puts us in a place of quietness, possibly, more stillness, less complication, which is a wonderful thing. So we can actually then, from that relief time, come back into all this human-made schedule and drama and stuff. So, in this cycle of holiday time, do you put little holiday breaks into your practice session in a week or so? Now, some people, it seems like they go on holiday most of the time. That might not be so useful. It is a balance. It is a balance. It's for each one of us to find our balances. So, I wish all of you a great holiday time, and to see how these natural rhythms and occurrences happen in your practice session, and how the more conscious you are of them, in just a natural awareness way, will bring about greater efficiency, deeper connection if you want, to what you're actually doing, which is more than just learning your instrument, hopefully, and open up a whole doorway that actually will never end.